Up next, an interview with the animated Arvin Bautista featuring his latest YouTube series, Comix Rant.
Cool. So thank you once again for joining us for the show. And I want to thank you for making the time to do this. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So everyone, this is Arvin Bautista. He's a good friend of mine the last few, I want to say probably like the last 10 years or so, which I can't really believe, you know?
Oh man, it has been that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's a long time.
So yeah, I definitely wanted to congratulate you, of course, on your new YouTube video series, Comix Rant, and especially with your ongoing comic book series, The Bomb Squad. So I definitely wanted to make out the time to go over stuff like that.
Yeah. Thanks for having me over. It was just kind of like one of those things, COVID-19, and everybody's stuck at home. So
what better time to like bring all these creative projects together when you have the time to do it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So yeah, I guess one of the questions I've been asking folks is like, what were some of your like art influences growing up as a kid?
Oh man, all that's in my head is comic books, dude. So like, it's kind of sad, but like, it's what I know.
Yeah.
Like growing up, like I think someone was asking me like, what was my favorite comic book, or sorry, how old was I when I started reading it?
Oh, okay.
And I can't remember. Can't remember.
Yeah.
Because I've just been reading it for that long.
Yeah.
So like the main influences that I can think of are comic book guys. So it would be John Byrne, George Perez. I don't know if you know these guys, but they were like these, John Byrne like rebooted Superman back in mid 80s or something like that. So he made them all cool again.
Yeah.
And then George Perez like drew Crisis and Teen Titans. So it's like super detailed. I don't even draw like that, but like it's just one of my influences. And then like way back for the comic book stuff that I'm doing now, it's I was pulling off of the work that Osamu Tezuka did. So the guy that made Astro Boy.
Oh, nice.
The guy that made Astro Boy, and the guy that made Cyborg 009. I don't know if you know that series. Also super old, but that dude worked under. So Osamu Tezuka is like the Walt Disney of Japan. So like everybody was working with him. So this guy, Shotaro Ishinomori, worked with him, and that dude made like Mask Rider Black. I think Power Rangers. He did that kind of stuff. So all that kind of stuff like came from him. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like one of my earlier art influences as well, like just subconsciously in my head.
Yeah. Did you ever at that point, was it more that you just kind of followed those things, or were you able to find anything? I know like back in the day we didn't have like the internet and everything. So
yeah.
how did you go about like getting more information about his work, or was it more just following those things?
Oh man. So a lot of that stuff I didn't even know, like I just Astro Boy was cartoon. So I would just watch that, and I didn't, when you're a kid, you kind of don't know people's names, like the specific artists of doing this kind of stuff, but then you kind of know what their stuff looks like.
Yeah.
So in comics, I think it was easy for me to like, open a book and I'll be go, hey, this is the guy that I like. And then, the older I got, then I'd look at that who drew it and who did that stuff in the book itself. So then I would start I'd start recognizing styles. So maybe that's kind of like what drew me to comics.
Oh, okay.
Because I could see like, oh, this guy drew it and that guy drew it, or I didn't like this guy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And but the older I get, then I'll still have some of those comics. So then I'll look it up and then I Google up some of these people, and I gotta tell you, social media is so awesome. Like, I tracked some of them down on Twitter.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, hey, totally nerded out on these guys. But they're like, they're just normal guys. So they totally loved it. They would be like, hey, thanks, and, you could talk back to these guys, or they would talk back to you. They would respond. And it was just so awesome.
with some of the folks that are just getting familiar with your work, maybe you want to give us like a brief timeline of like your art career overall, like just to
Oh my gosh, Fernando. That's good. Let's see. So I've been in the industry for like 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
I started in games.
Yeah.
So I started in games, I think a year after I was doing commercial animation.
Mm-hmm.
It was like at this small company called Digital Eclipse, which switched to Backbone Entertainment.
Yeah.
And then it got absorbed into this big umbrella company called Foundation 9.
Yes.
But that place was cool because I was there for like 10 years. It was a long time, 10 or 11 years.
Yeah.
But they were doing Game Boy Color game.
Oh yeah.
So that was awesome. Like, and I love games. Like, that's the thing that I kind of love. That's my other passion is games.
Yeah.
And so it was fun to learn like why things look like that, or why their colors are so low, or why is it so low resolution.
Yeah.
And I cut my teeth there, and that was a lot of fun. And then that's when I moved to Zynga. So Zynga was a whole different world. It was a whole different breed of games. I thought I would know what it was. But, when you go there, it's a totally different thing. It's like Facebook games, we were on Cityville. So Facebook games, live games, I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea what that meant at that time. Like, I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But, it's kind of crazy because then there was always content that we would have to pump out. Like it was, I think, 3 times a week, or it wasn't like 3 times a week at one point.
Yeah, when it was at its peak, there was like literally like 3 or like a daily release every day. So it was just
daily, which is insane.
Yeah,
it is insane. And but it was great. It was a great experience. And then after that, I worked at Achille Interactive. So I knew someone from Backbone moved over to Achille, and it was like I didn't know what it was, but it was like games as medical treatment. So, which is kind of crazy. So, and at that point when I was looking, I didn't know what that was. Like I just wanted to contract with them. I wasn't looking for like a permanent job. But it ended up to be one of the better places that I've worked at. And then that company released the world's first like FDA approved video game. So that's a plus. Yeah.
What was that game?
So it can, it's called Endeavor RX. And it's, they've been doing studies to see how games can treat people with ADHD.
Oh, that's cool.
And compare that with drugs.
Right.
And it's pretty amazing. Like, while I was working there, I had no idea what was going on. Right. It's all like science. But for a good cause. And they were able to quantify like the effect of playing this type of game. Basically data science. So it's basically like Zynga.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They would look at the data and they could see that it actually did help people that had ADHD to a certain degree. Right.
Right. Yeah. I know that you just started doing the Comix Rant YouTube series. So how did that come about? Like, I know obviously like the main reason for a lot of these projects that we've all been doing is because of the current situation, but has it always been like an idea or a concept that you've been wanting to try out from before?
It has not. So this is like super recent. This is literally during quarantine that or shelter in place. Quarantine sounds horrible, but it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine, he has an Indiegogo campaign. He has a couple of Indiegogo campaigns. He uses it to kind of interface with the people that are backing him. So he'll do live streams, and he'll do paintings of his stuff.
Right.
And people can take a look at it. And he told me, so we went to school together. We went to college together, and we both love comics. We love comics. It's like in our veins. So he was saying like he liked being able to interact with people in this way. And he said that, these channels, like for him, it's self-promotion, right? At the end of the day, it's self-promotion. It is what I'm doing. But he was saying, like, because it's like kind of what we liked as fans, right? Like, we're just talking about, like, if I got to meet my influences, like in a convention, I'd be wigging out. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be the best thing ever, right?
Yeah.
So he's saying, like, that's kind of like how it is for him. Not like we're like big stars or anything. It's just that we're able to talk to the people that like our stuff, or we can put our stuff out there and people can interface with us and try to make it as easy for them to interact with us, right? And that's a big deal. Like, that you can do that. And at the same time, so the plus for us is he's saying, like, okay, there's some YouTube people that just do their thing and that is their livelihood, right? Like these channels.
Right.
That you get like all these likes and subscribers and so on. And it's great. It's awesome, right? But for us, we can do that too, but we also have something to sell. Yeah. Right. So at the end of this episode that I just did, I actually worked on something, like for me personally.
Yeah.
And I think that was the draw for me, definitely to like try to get my stuff out there in video form. But I've always liked process stuff, just in general. Like I like process stuff. Like I like seeing other people's process. I don't care if it looks ugly, like it's fine. And to be able to get something out at the end of that is also like so like YouTube, right? Your presence has to be there by like putting out videos every week if you can, or as frequent as you can, blah, 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 blah. So at the same time, the real like draw for me is like, since I'm pumping out at least like an hour of work, right? That means I'm going to get an hour of work into my comic book like every week.
Yeah.
So that's like a boon. Like it kind of helps me keep on schedule, I think, or keep on track, right?
Yeah.
And then hopefully, maybe it's a fail or it'll succeed that, someone will watch the channel, but I will also have my comic book. So
exactly.
It's like kind of like,
it's like a win-win situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. So one last question for you. So I know this is probably very open, but from everything that you mentioned, what would you say is either your favorite or some of your favorite projects that you've worked on throughout your entire art career?
Okay. So I had to think about that for a little bit when you sent me that question. So there's multiple things, but I think they kind of like, they kind of touch on different aspects that I liked. So one is like, I did an illustration. It was just for this gallery, or it was supposed to be for this exhibit about, I think, sounds morbid, but like what your depiction of, or what your belief is about the afterlife, or about life and whatever was after that, right? So I'm Christian. So the piece that I did was this person. It was kind of like this stylized person that was kind of, and then he was like in a crowd of other stylized people that had like these big backpacks.
Yeah.
But he had let his backpack down, and then he's kind of like reaching up like this. And then in the background, I kind of use a negative space. So they're in a forest, and the negative space forms like this hand that's kind of reaching down.
Oh, okay.
And to me, that was like my way of showing that, at least for Christianity, right? Like it's God reaching down to people, and you can cast your burdens off. And I liked it because it was so hard for me to figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. It was like, I didn't even make the deadline for that exhibit because it was so hard. Like I couldn't do it. Like it was like this mental block in my head. Like, how do I show this concept? Like, I hadn't arrived at it. I guess it was so heady, kind of like, how do you depict like your faith or your or after what do you do? It's so big, like it could be anything.
Yeah.
So I actually drew it. I think I started doing it in ink, and it just looked bad. It just didn't look like it didn't look anything like that was I wanted. It didn't look like anything I wanted.
Yeah.
And then so I missed the deadline, and then I kind of abandoned it. And then after a while, I went back to it. I just had to do it because it was just an idea I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing it digitally.
Oh. Okay.
And it came out much closer to what I had thought about it that it would be in my head. And now it's actually one of my favorite pieces. I think because I struggled with it so much.
Right.
Usually, you'd hate something like that, but like it's like you don't want to like have to like. You would think that the typical answer would be like something that came out so effortlessly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's so awesome, right? This one was so hard, but it was just so good for my brain to kind of try to wrestle.
Did you have any plugs or shout outs that you want to give out before we head out?
Oh, probably just check out my YouTube channel, Comix Rant. And I'm on Instagram under Biggedy, Biggedy. Yeah. But that's pretty much where I'm on. YouTube is mostly my thing right now. I'm trying to get that going. There's a link to get the comic books, which is the Bomb Squad. And those are also on sale on this site called Indie Planet.
Oh, okay.
So I think if you do a search for the Bomb Squad on indieplanet.com, you'll find it. But if you just go to my channel, the link's right there. So if you guys want to support me that way, that'd be pretty awesome too.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll make sure that all the information is throughout the video and everything. So I'll make sure to copy over those links and put them on here. Awesome. So thank you so much again. And this was a lot of fun. And yeah, hope we can do it again soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Take care, dude.
Bye.